Hi everybody, welcome back. Glad you could tune in again. Okay, today's devotion comes from the Lending Library at All Saints Presbyterian Church. What lending library, I hear you ask? Well, exactly. That's why I'm filming this short devotion to introduce the library to you and to encourage you to use it. I remarked a few weeks ago that there is an intellectual component to Christian maturity. That is to say, there is an aspect of growing as a Christian which involves learning stuff so that you can put it into practice. It's not just learning stuff, it's learning stuff so we can put it into practice. And many of us, you don't know where to begin with that process, and the All Saints Lending Library will be a brilliant place to start, not least because it's free, as long as you don't end up bringing books back late and having somebody chase after you. So what's in the Lending Library? I wanted to show you a few how to use the library, what sort of things you'll find down here, and I encourage you to get into some of these things. So if I bring the camera over here, then let's start. Okay, Pastor's Picks. These are things that Pastor Neil and I will be recommending from time to time. Right up here, this is an excellent book by Jamie Smith, you love. Older one by Peter Lightheart, The Kingdom and the Power. John Piper, one of my favourite contemporary authors, really great guy, soaked in Jonathan Edwards, who's one of my favourite older authors. More on him another time. So there's a bunch of things there. So that's the first place to head to if you just think, I need to read something, don't know what to read. Just grab one of these at random, take it home and read it. Moving along here, we've got a bunch of audio sermons. What have we got in here? So, yeah, these are CDs. I thought we might find tapes, which none of you people below the age of about 60 will know how to use. But these are great things if you're thinking I've got a long car journey or a road trip where you're going on vacation. Just come in here and grab one of these and just stick it in the car if you've got a CD player, and you can listen to them. Then what we've got is just tons of books directed particularly at young people here. I remarked a while back on the value of reading Christian biographies. Well, there's a whole pile of biographies here. So if you've never read a Christian biography, come and grab one of these, especially if you're on the younger side. There's some other biographies aimed at the general readership elsewhere. There's some fiction. Part of growing as Christian intellectually is to have our imagination shaped by good fiction writing. There's a ton of stuff there. Non-fiction, again, just more general books there. Now, what have we got over here? These are more of the general biography. Again, so if you're somewhat older adult, you want to check out some of these if you've never read any biographies, all the way down to the bottom. And then here are some of the themes. So culinary arts, family, Christianity and culture, prayer, relationships, spiritual growth. Over here you've got heavier theology, heavier in the sense that the books weigh a little bit more. Here's an example. It's Calvin's Institutes of the Christian Religion. This is actually a slightly older translation. It's a wonderful translation, so it's a little harder to read, but it's well worth the effort to do so. Let me pick out a couple of these which might be worth your attention. This is an interesting one by Tim Gallant. Feed My Lambs, subtitled Why the Lord's Table Should Be Restored to Covenant Children. One of the distinctive features of the worship at All Saints Presbyterian Church is that we are convinced that the Lord's Supper ought to be given to all baptized children in Christian families. And that is, at the present time, something of a minority position in the Reformed churches and in the church in general, although at times in the past it has been much more mainstream, and certainly in the early church I'm convinced it was what everybody did. Now, if that's new to you, this will be a good place to start, at least to begin addressing the questions, why do we do that? So here, that's a great resource by Tim Gallant, Feed My Lambs. What else? I mentioned John Piper, Let the Nations Be Glad, The Supremacy of God in Missions. John Piper once remarked that you only really need to read one of his books because they're all the same. I think he's selling himself a bit short in his typical way. But that's a great book on missions, the role of the church in spreading the gospel to people who aren't believers. What else we got? Pile of theology. Oh, here's some things worth thinking about. Matthew Henry's commentary. Matthew Henry was a clergyman and a scholar who wrote a commentary on the entire Bible, and the whole thing is here. So if your family devotions are sometimes a bit, or you never know, if you're a man who is leading your family in worship, and you're sometimes not quite sure what to do, what to say, how to spend your time, you could do a lot worse than grabbing one of Matthew Henry's commentaries and just making a good chunk of your family worship, just reading a short section from Matthew Henry. It'd be a great thing to do. More on the commentaries front, the Interpreter's Bible. This is a series of Bible commentaries which go through the whole Bible, and some of that series are outstanding. like any series of commentaries, it's mixed because the authorship is mixed, but it's nonetheless a great resource. Bunch more things here. What else have we got? I think that's probably enough. Oh, look, this is an interesting one. How God Became King, The Forgotten Story of the Gospels by N.T. Wright. Interesting guy, Tom Wright is. He tends to provoke strong opinions, I often find, within the same person on different subjects. Sometimes I think he sees things that's just fantastically insightful. Sometimes I think he sees things and he's seeing things that aren't there. But he's very, very well worth reading and very easy to read. He's a great writer, which is a wonderful gift to the church. Okay, so just one final set of comments about how to use the library. Don't just come in and take books. Okay? What I'd like you to do is, when you come in the door, you'll turn right and you see a table, and on it, it says items checked out. And you need to put in here the card from the inside of whichever book you decide to take out. So suppose you decide to get N.T. Wright, How God Became King. What you do is you open up this book and you say, oh look, here's a little slip, cardboard. You fill in your name and the date here on that. You pop that in the box and you leave it where you found it, by the door. Now what that means is that we then know where the books are and we keep track of them. The other thing that helps us to keep track of the books is that, put them back where they came from. When you bring the books back, do not put them on the shelves. Do not put them on the shelves. Instead, just follow me around here. What I'd like you to do is to remember always to put returned books on the return card. It's, with the best will in the world, it's best for the librarian or whoever's in charge of the room responsible for it to be reshelving the books just to keep everything in order and make sure things are kept correct. Those untrained mere mortals among us who don't know quite how to shelve things on where they go, and it's hard to remember where they go, it's best if we don't try and just pop them on there when you're done with it. So I hope that's helpful as you're seeking to follow the Bible's injunction to grow in maturity and faithfulness as a believer by, in part, stretching your mind so that you're more able to understand the ways of God, so you're more able to live in line with them. The All Saints Library, I hope, will be a resource for you. The Lord bless you, and bye for now.